Okay, welcome to tonight's teleseminar. My name is Neil Thompson, and most of you know that I am a chartered accountant, and I have worked with Mr. Sen for the last 20 years. And in 1988, I met him as a young, budding chartered accountant when I took his weekend seminar, and it was all about how to start your own fast-track import-export business. And I learned more about business in those 2 days, and he showed practical business, more than I had learned in my entire life going through all of my university studies. And since then, I've had the privilege of traveling with Mr. Sen. I've gone to Tokyo and Taipei, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and the People's Republic of China, and almost all major cities coast to coast in the United States and Canada. I've been to Los Angeles and New York. And Mr. Sen's message has been the same. You know, whether he taught business or he was teaching ancient secrets of success, you must become more than yourself right now. That is his calling. And, you know, and the same people came back over and over again to his seminars. I attended 3 seminars, the same seminar in 3 consecutive months. And I noticed that everybody who attended always left totally transformed. And I've seen executives and ambassadors of countries, directors of finance, and day-to-day workers, even factory workers in China, excited and wanting to know when Mr. Sen would be coming back, as much as the economic development director of the largest financial centers of the world. And I asked myself, what does he do? What is the difference? And I realized, and it dawned on me, he opened up my heart, and he made me realize that all the knowledge of the universe is already in me. I have to organize it inside. And since then, I've never been the same. And I also realized, and I asked him, what is the difference between your teachings and most of the other people who teach about motivation and empowerment? And he said simply, they're all great people, but the major difference between the teachings I give is simple. Most of them teach you to empower the mind, and I teach you how to take charge of the mind. Most teach you how to use mind tricks. I teach you how to have the mind obey you. It is the most powerful tool. You don't need to empower it. You just need to manage it and control it. And he said most people right now, their mind is at the control of their circumstances, and they're controlled by their mind. So his deep insight into the human psyche brings out the best in us. And today's subject is, how do I accomplish what I want? It is beyond my means now. That is where all of us stumble. So let us hear what Mr. Sen has to say, and welcome Mr. Sen to tonight's call.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you very much for the great introduction.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay, it is true that the mind is the mind. The mind is like a computer, a processor. It will process any command you give it, as long as you have the proper software. The fact is, when the computer starts to work on its own, that's when the problem comes. The mind is a tool. The mind is our neuron system. The mind is a part of our body. Because, I'll give you a good example. When you're hungry and tired, your mind is a part of your body. It gets tired as well. And it cannot remember. It loses memory. You forget it. Then when you feed it, you feed your body, you nourish your body, your memory comes back. So the whole idea is, you're right, the mind has to be nourished, and the mind has to be taken control of by our consciousness, by us, me, you. Now, today's subject is a very interesting one. And you made the subject, how do I accomplish what I want? It is beyond my means now. It's actually a contradiction in terms. For example, I'm going to tell you a little story. It's an old Indian story. It's a village folklore. There was this guy in the middle of the night in a village, in Indian village, where there is no electricity. There was hurricane lanterns, and he was aching to have a smoke. The hookah, they didn't have cigarettes, they had this hookah, and it needed a light. But he didn't have a light. He didn't have a match. But he wanted that hookah smoke so badly. In the deep middle of the night, when the crickets were chirping, and there's no lamppost or anything there, he went over to his neighbor's home with his hurricane lantern and knocked at the door and said to him, my friend, he opened the door. My friend, I really am craving for a smoke. Can you give me a light? I don't have a light. His neighbor looked at him strangely and then got angry and said, what kind of a man are you? I said, why? You wake me in the middle of the night asking for a light, and yet you're carrying a hurricane lantern which is lit. Why don't you light your hookah with the light from the hurricane lantern? He looked at himself. Yes, he's right. I'm a fool. He came back and realized what he missed. This is what, if I want anything, if you do want, all the means are in the want. That's what we're going to discuss tonight. And how to find that we're still carrying that hurricane lantern and looking for the fire to light our pipe, to light up our want and get it. 99% of our success in life is just figuring out what we want. You can read all the books in the world. You can attend all the seminars in the world. And you can go to retreats anywhere in the world. And you can become very knowledgeable. As my master used to say, you will become a donkey with a load of books. You'll know everything. But what will you do with that knowledge if you don't know what you want? And when we decide what we want, we have to know that 99% of our success in life is figuring out what we want. And our want also shows us our belief level. The greatest obstacle for success is figuring out what we want. So the first thing first, we have to go, sit down, be honest with ourselves, and realize and ask ourselves, if I had everything in the world, which you do, by the way, which we'll discuss in a moment, what would I want? And start writing. In my seminars, in the live seminars I do, that's the first exercise I go through. I make everybody write, what do you want? And they write pages and pages and pages. And then I tell them one thing. So now, forget what you've written. Write only one thing and be very specific. And you know what happens? Most people panic. Or most people get almost angry. Why? Because they don't want to miss out on all the things they've written. But the truth is, you have to take out one single thing out of that. what you want because everything else will be synchronized with it. And for example, I want to take care of my family. I want to have a house. I want to have this car. I want to go on vacation. I want to have this romance. I want to have this relationship. That's all okay. But if I say, I want to be, say, I want to have X number of dollars in my bank account after taxes, without any debt, specificity, all the other things can be taken into synchronicity. Specific, what do I want? And do not, for heaven's sake, put a time to it. Time is a limitation, because you will realize why time is not necessary. The moment you put the time factor in it, you have already set a limitation. One of the questions we got in the mail is, can I manifest my goals instantly, my vision instantly? Yes. The answer is yes. It depends on our belief level. Many have done it. It requires a high practice. It requires an ability that goes beyond the regular practice. And people have done it. Great masters do it all the time. All the great miracles we've seen is no different from asking, from actually getting what you want. And you can get it instantly. Time is not the factor. When you want something, it is already yours. We'll come to that in a moment. Want is an embryo. Like last time I told you. What is a want? Want is an embryo of a vision. And life without a vision is a blind life, a sterile life, a barren life. Most people really get up in the morning without knowing what they really want. So they end up having lots of nightmares in the early morning. The whole idea is you must know what you want and want it badly enough so nothing else matters. And how do you arrive at that position is the purpose of our subject today. So I'm going to take you through a journey from wanting to visioning to manifesting of your want. The idea is we have become very scientific. The difference between, we say, okay, if I want something and I don't have the means to get it, isn't it asking too much that I want and it'll just arrive? Now let us examine what makes us believe we cannot have it. Scientists observe what is already there and then they reason. Scientists see and perceive what they can only see. Scientists worship reason, and they do not give much credence to imagination. Science can only see what exists and what can be perceived by the senses or the extension of the senses. When I say extension of the senses, I like the telescope, the microscope. Now even the Hubble that is floating in space today is looking at other galaxies and other things, And what do they see? They see That's an extension of our eye. The Hubble is nothing more than the extension of our eye. That is the problem. Dreamers, on the other hand, are the architects of the world. They dream of the world that never existed and then vision the world. And the ways and means come to them in ways that they themselves could not see it while they visioned. It all sounds so bizarre to the scientists, doesn't it? The question is, let's come back to the reality again. Our question today is, how do I accomplish what I want when it is beyond my means? If we could see what we want and see that, it can be accomplished by us. How? Just not because I said it will happen. When we vision, what happens? Let's go back to the vision. When we vision, what happens? What triggers the vision? Let's see the journey of a vision from wanting to having to manifesting. I said having to manifesting. When you want, it all starts with a pain of lack that is sapping our happiness away from us. An empty stomach suffers the pain of hunger and wants food. A lonely heart wants romance and companionship. And the want is the lack. It is a vacuum. And we know there can be no vacuum anywhere. It all starts with warm stirring of the emotion. See, we are too much head, too little heart. We have to have heart. Remember, when we don't have anything, when we lack anything, we want it, we choke. We choke. We choke because we don't have it. In that throat of ours, in that throat, there are a conglomeration of nerves. That is sometimes referred to as our venous center, which absolutely chokes with grief that we don't have it. That is a lack. That is why it is said all desires is born of lack. And then that lack triggers imagination. And imagination is the instrument of the adaptation of the energy of the universe. To imagine is to see. And imagination is the womb of vision. And it shapes our vision into what we want. Then the process starts. The process starts in a simple way. In Ancient Secrets of Success, I tell you, right in the beginning, I think page 15 or 14, I tell you that there are two types of tinctures. Tincture is a solution. One tincture that gives you a coating, a veneer, a layer, and that the masters are repulsed by it. The other tincture is just like an ink, a blue ink, and you're like a piece of cotton. And then when you soak that cotton in that ink, that cotton becomes blue through and through. That tincture is the want, that desire. Similarly, will become and so we become that ink, that white, pure cotton becomes the blue ink, that lack, that desire, that want. Then only it is a tincture, and the true tincture. All tinctures are made from our imagination. We cannot create tincture with any other thing but our imagination. If we just want it casually, it is a false tincture. The tincture that wants just can give you a little coating. When you dig deep into it, it is not there. It's just like repeating it a few times, I want this, I want this, I want this, and then you don't get it. It is repulsive tincture. It is a tincture it is this tincture, the deep tincture that soaks inside out, is the vision. Remember, another thing you have to understand, no desire ever originates in our mind. No desire ever originates in our mind. All desires originate in the universe. Why? Because there is no two. We are all one. We are all one with the universe. Just like the flowers and the fruits in a tree have different shapes and sizes, but the source of the flowers and the fruit come from the tree. Each branch and twig is like the personality, and then we can only take what is able to take and develop that shape. Let me put it more simply. As soon as we desire, what we're dealing with, the root matter that we're dealing with is our own personality. We do not have to deal with the vision as much as with ourselves. We don't have to change our vision. Our vision is born out of our want, triggered by lack and built with imagination. What we have to deal with is our first matter, our root matter, our being, which is our personality. That is what is said. That is why it is said that every desire is a promise. But what happens? Our upbringing, our habits, our environment interprets the want and then says we can't have it. It is said every creation is a desire, and every desire carries its own mathematics with it. That means it has all the means to fulfill it, if we can believe in it. And not make believe, really believe in it. The universe is made with no thing. The universe is made with no substance. And yet, we do feel the solidity of the substance. If you go to everyday magic of creating from no thing, substance of a personal creative power that gets you what you want. If you go to page 48, it says here, to train the mind to believe that we create out of no thing is our mission in life. To train the mind to believe that we create out of no thing is our mission in life. That is the heart and soul. And we know everything is made out of no thing. This is a very, very intense thought. We have to learn to, raising our belief level to that point is necessary. That's when we become the masters of our world. I know, we'll say, well, everything is something. When you bang your feet against the bedpost and the bed legs of your bed, you get hurt. So the question is, my answer is the same. We don't know. We know that when we hit our feet against the leg of the bed, it hurts. It is solid, and yet we know, as we believe in science, it is not a thing. science says that matter is not a thing. So the question is, how can I accomplish what I want when I know that I don't have the means to accomplish it with? The answer is that the lack that we feel must give us the inspiration to desire it so intensely that the universe will bring it to us. That's why every last few teleseminars I have mentioned you do not need to, Franz Kafka's beautiful saying, you do not need to leave your room. Remain sitting at your table and listen. Do not even listen, simply wait. Do not even wait. Be quiet, still, and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet. As science has made reason into their God, use the same reasoning to realize that man makes everything out of no thing, and it is the saying of the science. Science analyzes what architects or dreamers dream about. Man wanted to fly from the beginning of time, and we know today all the means and the laws of flying was there as much as it is now. But they did not have the tincture. And as such, they thought it was a fantasy. So they got stories of people getting feathers and gluing it to their arms, and then with gluing it to their arms with wax, and then they go up into the sun. The heat of the sun melts the wax, and they fall. So many stories about flying, right up to Leonardo da Vinci. Now we fly faster than any bird, and we fly almost buildings with more population than many small towns in America. We have showers and dining rooms on multiple floors and elevators flying at 40,000 feet at the speed of sound. The means were there as much as it is now, but the lack wasn't there. The want wasn't there. To raise our belief level to heights that we want to go is our mission in life. Remember, the mind cannot climb heights. Our mind suffers from many phobias. And do you know what the biggest phobia the mind has? It suffers from acrophobia, the fear of height. Have you noticed that the mind does not even want to look up into the sky and see the infinitude of the world? We have to force it up there, and then tell it to look, and then it looks down quickly. But the spirit soars and soars in the mind, and the mind tries to pull it down. But when you have made the tincture, then the mind has become a part of the tincture and will become the spirit and process the command of the mind. I would, at this point, recommend to all of you to read Chapter 6 of Ancient Secrets of Success. The everyday magic of creating from nothing. To train the mind to believe that we create out of no thing is our mission in life. Then you will want more than you can ever want before. To believe in ourselves and to deal with the root matter. And the first matter is our first priority. That's to deal with our own personality. And the tincture tinges our personality, just to remember, all desires already carries with it the means to fulfill it. Like we have to become like William Blake, the great poet. His famous lines, we have to be able to see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. We have to get that tincture to that level. That's why right in the first chapter of the Ancient Secrets of Success, I end with the quotation from the Isha Upanishad. This is the morning invocation of the masters. This is I have given the morning invocations of the masters, which even turn the refuse of the earth into masters. And the invocation is, that is infinite. This is infinite. From that infinite arises this infinite. This infinite is brought forth from that infinite. And that infinite remains infinite. I'll repeat here. That is infinite. This is infinite. From that infinite arises this infinite. This infinite, me, is brought forth from that infinite. And that infinite remains infinite. To conclude, I'm going to tell you a story. There was a fishmonger's wife, and a florist and a flower dealer's wife. They were friends. The fishmonger, the florist's wife invited the fishmonger's wife to sleep over. They were having a sleepover party. So everybody came. And she, after selling her fish in the marketplace, got her empty fish basket with her and came to the florist's home. And at night when they were sleeping over, she was sleeping in a room where flowers are there. Beautiful fragrance. And in the middle of the night, she couldn't sleep. She was tossing and turning. She got up and went and knocked at the door of the fishmonger's wife and said, "Could you get me my empty fish basket?" It was in storage outside because it was smelling of fish. And she said yes. So she got the empty fish basket, which smelled of fish. And she brought it to her bedroom and put it there, and she could smell the fish. She slept like a baby. See, when our personalities brought up with lack, and we're used to lack, we deal with lack. It's like the fishmonger's wife's empty fish basket. We get used to it. We have to learn to sleep in the fragrance of flowers. That's plenty. And that is why Ancient Secrets of Success the Masters have given us the 4 proclamations. And the next week, we'll work on raising our belief level with the 4 proclamations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sen. That was a very beautiful talk on how do I accomplish what I want. It is beyond my means now. I just love what you said, that if you have the means for what you want, it's not a vision but a to-do list. And the mind cannot climb heights, and how it doesn't even want to look up at the sky. Wow, it's powerful. Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Sen. And I had asked you one question myself. I said, what should I do to maintain this power within me, to realize that I can do everything I want to do? And you told me, teach it. Whatever you learn, teach it within 72 hours. And more than that, get everybody that you know involved in this. It sends the message to your consciousness, your mind, that you are powerful. And the way to do this is to spread this message right across the world. Anybody you know, you send the message off, because it affects you more than and it will affect you more than the person probably that's listening to you. So this is very important. So everybody should let all their friends know.
There is no greater joy than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There is no greater joy than that. You have to understand the whole idea is sharing. Like when you have a beautiful dessert, as I mentioned once before, you can't fully enjoy it till you share it with somebody. Say, have a bite. Look how beautiful it is. Remember, Neil, as we're talking, it is absolutely important for most people that to continue with this weekly discussion. And anybody that has any questions or comments, it would be great if you email it to could you give the email coordinates?
Yes. If you want to email us any questions, email them to info@raiseyourbelieflevel.com. And if you're not receiving regular mailings from us yet, please go to www.raiseyourbelieflevel.com and sign up for all the mailings. And if you have any questions, please, I'll repeat that email again. Please send your email to info@raiseyourbelieflevel.com. Okay.
And we are also preparing. We're also preparing very soon. By next few weeks from now, we will have a regular community of membership where we will be transmitting all this information to you. And
yeah, there'll be a weekly podcast and blogs.
We'll let you know about it.
Yes, we'll be sending everybody an email on that. It'll be really exciting.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday. And once again, thank you, Mr. Sen, for this most inspiring talk on how do I accomplish what I want. It is beyond my means now. Okay.
Next week, remember, is a very, very, very important. How to raise your belief level with the 4 proclamations. That the 4 proclamations does not belong to the East nor the West. It is our individual right. And that is what we're going to work with. And there will be a series of 4 seminars on it. Okay?
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night.